fucking like my execution, my general execution, except everything except for my punish game. I feel really confident in that. Like I can play at a top level.
Mhm.
Like in neutral, I think I feel fine. In like on the ledge, maybe my edge guards need my edge guards and my punish game need a lot of work. But like I feel like that's a lot of people at the mid level, right?
Yeah,
It's like,
yeah.
oh, you can, like I've been playing this game for 6 years. I'm comfortable. I beat everyone who I'm supposed to beat, and I like like maybe once in a blue moon I beat Curve. Right?
Yeah.
But like that's like he played bad, and I don't want to be. I want to stop having to rely on playing like my opponent's playing bad.
Hmm.
Yeah. Let me
That's
get you
fair.
some VODs or like whatever. Yeah, actually, I should let you guide the conversation. I
Yeah,
just
yeah.
wanted to give you a little bit of context as to why I wanted this list because as of right now, I'm just kind of sick of like. I mean, I'm not at the same level per se, but there's a lot of glaring weaknesses that I want to optimize the way I practice.
Hmm.
Like that's the big thing I notice about all the good people is that you guys have optimized practice routines and understanding of what needs to be practiced.
Yeah.
Today I felt like after playing Charlie for like 2.5 hours, I felt like okay, well there's some very obvious off the stage stuff and like punish stuff that I need to work on, but besides that. I actually am just very curious to hear what you have to say. Typically, these lessons, there's 15 seconds we watch 15 seconds of footage. And we're like, oh, here's a 2-hour lesson on this interaction. And I'm like, I'm down. You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
I'm
Okay.
down. You can only get force talked by Cactuar so many times. Yeah, all right, let me grab bots.
Okay, yeah, send them my way. Did you guys play the Fox Ditto or?
Yeah, we played Fox Marth for, let's see, from 350 to 450.
Hmm.
So we played Fox Marth for an hour. That was like 20 games, and I took one game out of 20. And then I took one game on FD
Yeah.
in the Fox Ditto. But
Okay.
like I don't need to think about that. I'm just talking.
Hmm. Hmm. Okay,
What's
so
up?
do you want to focus on one of those matchups specifically?
I think
Just
the Ditto. I feel I'm really comfortable against Marth.
okay.
That's a character I think my punish game is like actually pretty good against.
Yeah.
But and like I've been like listening to like people tell me like, oh yeah, all that matters is the Ditto.
Hmm.
All that matters,
Hmm.
which is like to some degree it's true, right? Because the execution is exacerbated.
Hmm.
It's the Fox is the only character in the game where it's like, oh, well you can just combo him forever, and he combos himself forever and ever and ever, and there's always a follow up. And if you're not finding that follow up, you're doing it wrong.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I definitely think the most fundamental aspects of melee end up, you know, kind of falling into the Fox though specifically. Just because Fox is the character that can do the most things, right? So it's like you put him against himself, and generally the parts of melee that tend to get expressed end up popping up in the Ditto. So yeah, I definitely
Yeah.
think that's a valid assessment of it.
And also,
Um,
I'm gonna probably pay you for another lesson so I can stop fucking losing the floating mid tiers, dude. Holy
yeah,
shit.
I'm down to help with those. Yeah.
Fucking oh my
I have my
god.
fair share of experience
It's
with
not that
mid
I
tiers.
can't beat them, it's that I lose the patience. I'm like not patient.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I
Let
mean,
me
you have
grab
to have,
this.
the characters can only do so much. So if you don't go
Yeah,
in with
right.
the exact plan, that beats their little mid tier options, then
Yeah, I
it's
guess
pretty
that's
easy to
true,
die.
right? You can devise as many plans as you want, but if you're not actually exploiting the weaknesses, it doesn't.
Yeah, right.
Make
Because
it.
it's like it's the same thing with top tiers. You play against Sheik, and you're like, okay, well, Sheik, I have advantage in this position. So it's like you just have to do the same things for the lower tier characters, but it's like
You
the
don't have
way
to
that you
vary it
end
up.
up. Yeah, and like the way that you end up being advantage against those characters are both more plentiful and slightly different because they don't actually engage with like the core baseline of melee that well, which is why they're bad, right? So a lot of the ways that you end up
Because
beating them,
one game is probably good, right? I mean,
yeah, we
we
can
can
just play it
only
by
yeah,
ear.
yeah. I'm
Yeah.
down. Yeah, in that that's a good way to think about it. I should probably on my own time like that's great advice on my own time. Just watch other people play the super linear plan, get super good at the plan, and never have to think about it in the future, right? Because it's I mean, the mid. I guess I have to respect the mid tiers. They have some options, right?
Yeah.
But it's like as soon as you develop that plan and just make it as frustrating as possible, it's like, oh, well, I mean,
We're fine.
like, I mean, I don't know. Luigi players are playing fucking 4D chess. I don't know what the fuck they're doing over there, man.
Yeah.
They're
Okay.
playing their own game, man.
I am
Alright.
streaming. Are you in? Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're good. We're
Okay.
going.
Blue Fox, I
Cool.
presume.
Yeah, I'm Blue Fox.
Okay. And just to preface, so before this, we talked about so adapting to higher level players, and maybe adapting to options happening at a higher level, and kind of
or
being attentive of those things, and
being
then
faster about it, right?
yeah, being faster at recognizing.
I wanted to
situations
take a
happening.
stock, cause so I'm a doubles player, right?
Yeah.
And like the main reason I'm trying to get better at singles is so that I can just also kill in doubles.
Yeah, yeah.
Like not like my team's punishes are fine, but I also want to just be able to kill them if
Yeah.
Like me and my partner, Noki.
Yeah.
Noki is my teammate, and we got 33rd at Genesis, and we lost. We just kind of we lost to Peach. We lost Peach Falco as Peach Fox.
Mhm.
That we lost to Polish and Envy, but I didn't feel like I was good. I got out singles, which is such a feel bad.
Yeah.
Because it's like that can happen, but also like I'm like a dedicated doing dedicated static practice, so it's like I want to get better. Anyway,
Yeah.
that's my rant. In the Ditto in particular, I feel like that's relevant to like adapting is why I want to get better, because it's really relevant to teams. As soon as like have a good game plan, like the best teams, like I play Ralph and Atma a lot, and they're like, oh well, if you have a game plan, they adapt within stocks, and I adapt in games, which is such a big like tilt to me. I need to adapt. Like I need to be able to do it mid set or mid game.
Yeah, you have to be able to see the thing happen and kind of take note of it, and maybe change within the next few interactions, or maybe even the next interaction if you can, right?
All right. Yeah. So without further ado, I'll stop ranting because this is a terrible habit I have. I'm just like, oh, by the way, and this. So yeah.
Yeah. So some initial thoughts I have going into this, because I've actually, talked to different players about similar things, about this kind of thing, and the main thing that I've realized that helps a lot when trying to, adapt well, or maybe change what you're doing quickly, the core ideal of being able to like recognize it and do it well is that you need to kind of categorize sets of options. So, for example, I think a really based on example is like that I like to use, that I kind of align with a lot, is like, there's the swingy Marths, and then there's the Marths that dash dance a lot, right?
You should be able to adapt to that. You should see, oh, well, this Marth is short hop double fairing, so if I just run in and shield grab him, or if I do running shield, I'm probably going to win most of the interaction.
Yeah.
Or that's like a really low level. But yeah, continue. I'm just trying, I'm verbally processing.
Yeah, no, that's totally fine. But yeah, it's like the idea where once you kind of, it's not even about necessarily the specific decisions, but once you see them make a type or maybe a set of a type of decisions, then you can make a lot of, you can infer a lot about their play. So, you play the Fox that you like waveland the side platform, right? And it's like, okay, you're on side platform, you're pretty safe. There's not much they could do on reaction to hit you. But the Fox you're playing against decides to, full hop nair onto the platform anyways. And it's like, okay, well, I can tell obviously that this Fox is, maybe a certain skill level, because he clearly doesn't know that me being on the side platform isn't a position that he could challenge in this directive of manner without being at a very disadvantaged state, right? Because what if I shield and shield grab over something, right?
So figure out what skill level your opponent is, and that should be like the first thing you're looking to do, right?
I don't want to use necessarily skill level.
Not skill level, but like under what level of understanding does your opponent?
Yeah, kind of. It's like the type of options that they could pick. And I'm not that big of a fan of making like assumptions about maybe my opponent's understanding or skill level or anything, but like at a baseline there is like a type, associated with certain sets of decisions. Maybe the word is
habit. Figure out what habitual tendencies they have.
Yeah, habits is a good way to like generalize it. But I think that's like a pretty strong baseline for like being able to adapt well. Because I'm sure Armada has played tens of thousands of hours of Melee, and he sees a Fox do a type of action, a specific type of decision that's like clear, and he like is able to categorize the Fox and then effectively play around it, right? And that's like
I'm gonna invite Danny because I want him to listen in. Is that cool?
Yeah, that's fine. That's
Cool.
fine.
Cool. All right. So sorry. Yeah. So I really like that idea. Okay. So I wrote down categorize set of options based on like I mean perceived style.
Yeah.
I'll say perceived.
Yeah, I think that's fine. And you have tons of hours playing Melee, and you clearly have experience, right? And it's like with that experience, you know when you play like, I don't know if you've had this experience, but it's like you play a player, and then like maybe a situation hasn't come up, but you feel like
what they're kind of gonna do.
Yeah, you kind of feel like, oh, I'm pretty sure this guy's gonna do this thing, and then the situation comes up, and it's like, oh, they just did that thing exactly, right? And it's like that's like a pretty good kind of way to conceptualize it, where it's like you have these experience where you're not sure that your opponent's going to do this exact thing because it hasn't come up, but you kind of have the feeling based off their prior set of decisions that you've gathered your however many years of Melee experience playing, that these types of things generally tend to lead to these other set of decisions.
Yeah,
right. That's a
so
even
if the to reiterate, even if the situation hasn't come up, you can make an educated guess based on like the previous habits shown to you.
Yeah, that is something that you could do.
Or how would you I'm sorry. I would can you re-explain that to me? Maybe I misunderstand.
I mean I think you have the general point. It's just that when you see an action, you can categorize the type of action it is based off of the specifics of it. So for example, another example is when you play against a Captain Falcon, for example, there's the Falcons that will
tech chase you.
Yeah, and like in even more general sense, there's the Falcons that when they nair, they will not ever move forward. They'll generally control their exact space, right? So they do nair, dash back, or nair, dash back, double jump. Yeah, and they generally tend to stay in that area, right? And so then when you're looking for, you could see that he specifically is doing that action and, pay attention to it and recognize it and play around it. But then also for the upcoming situations, you could kind of generalize and, put him in some kind of category where he isn't going to like, dash up and grab you. He's not going to play that part of the mix-up, given the way that he's played every other situation thus far, where it's been, generally if we're going to, maybe...
Oh, for sure. So play a mix-up play options based on options shown to you so far. So, for example, if a player never shows you that they know, like in the Ditto, a player never does running shine, you can call them out for that. Or maybe
like that is essentially what ends up happening. But it's like it's way more abstract
so generalize and put someone in a category based on which mix-up they do and don't play,
the type of mix-ups, right?
And furthermore, when you know that they're going to play a type of mix-up, you don't have to, when you know they don't play a type of mix-up, you can assume that mix-up won't come up.
Yeah, that is pretty much it. Yeah, exactly.
Okay, all right, that's really interesting.
Yeah, and I think watching, it'll be clearer, because this is generally just like, we're talking it over without any game to back it, but once we go into the game, I'll watch, maybe a game and
give you some context as well. Charlie goes out of his way in this session to do suboptimal punishes to give me more openings to escape as like a teaching thing. So if you ever see him make like a questionable decision, like his punish game, he one thing he said is like, oh, well, your punish game or my punish game is suboptimal, but your punish game is weaker than my suboptimal punish game, which was like something you think about. But anyways, I'm gonna let you. I'm gonna listen. I'm really gonna try to listen. I'm sorry.
No, you're totally fine. Okay, so now we can go into the match with both what we just talked about in mind, and then look at things like combos, edge guarding, and defensive execution as well, just because that's all important in the game. Okay, so let us start. Hmm. Hmm. I feel like you definitely saw that he double jumped here, but you like the way that you decided to interact with it did not feel very specific to actually what was going on. Because I think that if I probably saw my opponent do this double jump, right, and they're at the top of the screen, and I'm like, oh, he double jumps
Short
here.
hop or full hop up air.
You could full hop up or out of
No,
the
sorry. What
air.
would you do? What would you do? Yeah.
I mean, it's all kind of dependent on what you want, right? Full hop up
Yeah.
air is if you react really fast and you see that he's up there, and it's like, okay, I can actually catch it. Like, it's not that consistent because you already need to be dashing forward when you realize that he's double jumped, but you can do full hop up air to catch him. You could do dash dance and kind of play it more aggressive with up smash to whiff punish, or maybe catch him right before he lands. You could full hop over him to play as passively, or not as passively, but as open as possible to give yourself both escapes and hits, but also never like fully engage yourself because what's he gonna do about you full hopping when he's falling from a double jump, right?
So given so let's apply that thing you were talking about earlier. Given the context, I have an educated insight onto Charlie that he's a player that waits, and he waits for you to commit, and he pretty much doesn't really do anything and kind of just waits for you to mess up, and people really hate his style. So but I really respect it because I can't replicate as much as I try. Anyways, my point is, if based on that educated guess, I guess I would try to wait for him to land, or maybe punish. He's probably going back to the platform, right? Because he used his double jump.
Yeah, he uses double jump, so he doesn't have the drift to go there.
Okay. So in that case, yeah, maybe I go under him and wait for the landing.
Yeah, right. So you could, run up smash and hit him bearing because it's like he doesn't have that much drift by the time he's double jumping, right? Or maybe you run up, wave dash down, and wait for him to land, right?
I'm ignorant to the fact that he used his double jump, and I that the up smash is actually just leads to like a really fat punish because he doesn't have a resource.
Yeah, right.
That's something that maybe I was just blind to. Thank you for pointing that out, actually.
Yeah, but that's like a great baseline. You see him double jump, and it's like, okay, if we're gonna create a framework with this? I see him do this action that I think locks him in, right? It locks him in because he doesn't have double jump to get out, and air dodge isn't really that great of an option for actually being evasive, and Fox's drift isn't that great. Does that make sense?
Yeah. He's committed. The double jump is the commitment.
Yeah.
Right. The aerial drift you're not Falcon, you're not Puff, you're kind of like the double jump is the strong part. It's not the drift, right?
Yeah.
Or the full hop moreover. Yeah. Okay.
And so once we see this, the way that I would approach it is, okay, given that he's done this thing that is reactable, and these are the circumstances that make it a weak position for him, how am I going to play it? Right. And so that's how you could, decide to build up decisions that you'd make in this position. Because it's like, since he doesn't have X, Y, Z resources, those being drift, drift, a double jump, and a meaningful hitbox to put out, then it's like, oh, okay, I can now play it in, a way. It's like, oh, I'm going to up smash him out of the air because he doesn't have that many drifts to avoid what I'm doing. Or
it's important to have a plan of some, like, because do you think that, like, right now I have like a sort of YOLO problem where I'm just kind of making a decision based on a reaction without a...
Yeah, in this position, I definitely think so. Because you do this, full hop rising bear, and like maybe it could hit, but I don't think it was actually
it's
that
not even like an
towards
optimal, right? Like I reacted to him and I didn't find an opening, and I mean it's like a mid trade, right? It's like it could have just been a winning neutral interaction.
Yeah,
right?
I agree.
Okay, I see what that's a good, like, okay, I see that. Yeah.
Yeah. And another thing, if we're going to go back to what we initially talked about with like categorizing a player, is I'm watching, I see that he does a full hop from pretty far away and then double jumps back, and I'm like, okay, that, doesn't mean that much. But then I see him do this double jump, and then after it's happened twice, I'm like, it feels like he kind of, jumps or full hops, maybe double jumps from really far away when I'm not actually threatening him, and he ends up playing a disadvantaged position because of it. Because if I look at both these positions, my perspective of them is like him full hopping here when you're dash dancing right here is like, this is not gonna pan out that well for him, right? And then he has to double jump back to platform, and then
he's already committed.
Yeah.
But
and you can't hit you.
But that's on me to recognize. I mean, and you see that I'm glad that you point out I react. Maybe I react. My guess is that I react, but I don't recognize.
Yeah.
So like I see, oh, he's gonna do something, and that's the level I'm at. But Charlie recognizes that that I recognize, but he also recognizes that I'm not gonna take an action on it, even though I see it. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that definitely makes sense. Because like, you could see it, but you have to actually do something after seeing it, right?
Yeah. So I need to remove that layer of like that. That's a level of that, but of disparity for sure.
Yeah, I think it's just a matter of like, being critical of things that happen in the game, even if nothing happens, even if you win the interaction, even if you lose the interaction, you have to sit down and be like, if this is something that I don't think I fully understand, you have to sit down and flesh it out completely. Right?
Okay, I'm gonna write that down. That's such a good frame of mind.
Yeah.
If this is something that, sorry, can you repeat that? If this is something that I don't understand.
Yeah, if it's something that you don't understand, you need to, regardless of whether it goes well, nothing happens, or it goes poorly, you need to sit down and flesh it out in its entirety.
For sure, and only then, once you fully understand. Like if I waste time trying to partially understand it, and then someone tries to apply it in a way that I wasn't ready for, then I've wasted my time.
Yeah, you have to go back and sit down, and you haven't wasted your time because
but I've done it suboptimally.
I mean, you can't necessarily figure out everything, in your first go around. You have to experience it because there's nuances that exist that, you can't just see through, maybe thinking about it or testing it. Because sometimes, Melee is there's a lot of variance that happens. So,
absolutely.
Something slightly different, maybe 2 frames of, maybe he jumps 2 frames later, or he does his action 2 frames later, et cetera, et cetera.
Or he drifts a little bit.
It actually changes, and you can't always account for that. So you also need the experience. Like, you can't be perfect initially, right? So I don't think it's a failure. It's simply just the learning process resets, right?
For sure.
You get to the point, and then you have to go back and check: do I get everything? What are the things I need to change? And then do that until you're at a point where you feel like you're 99.9% about it, but not completely sure, because it's there's a few things you'll be 100% sure about in Melee. It's really hard to be at that point, I think.
So recap of what we've talked about so far. Core idea of categorize set of option based on perceived style.
Yeah.
Figure out an action that locks someone in and is reactable based on the circumstances. How am I going to play it without X, Y, and Z resources? What can I do to hurt him the hardest without committing myself to a reversal?
Yeah, those are, and that's pretty much it. Yeah, and then there's that's pretty much about what we talked about.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sure.
And watching, if we're going to be specific about what happens, one thing that I don't like about watching You're Neutral initially is it feels like you do these lasers that end up being pretty useless. Like, that laser doesn't really do anything. The jump forward laser puts you actually in his threat range, which makes it really bad. And then since you're in his threat range, you're like, oh, I might get hit. So you have to do another laser back. And it's like, all of those lasers kind of did nothing, and one of them actively did something bad. Right.
It's like, oh, hey, here, hit me for free, right?
Yeah. And I think if you were simply just dash dancing, or maybe wave dashing down, or some sort of movement option that's like more reasonable, you would have been available, and you probably would have been like able to see that he did this full hop and been able to like set up shop, right?
Yeah.
Because
I get too comfortable with the idea that land cancel is safe, but it's not. You're right.
Yeah, it's just you're still in lag. You have to jump.
I still can easily get running shined. Right.
Yeah, right. If you full ups at the right timing, whatever. It's just like, since you are jumping, you have to go through 3 frames of jump squat.
Yeah.
You have to go through, I think it's 15, 14 frames of in the air, assuming you're fast falling frame perfectly, and then 4 frames of landing lag. And this is assuming, everything is going perfectly, right? And so it's like, that's nearly half a second of time, right? So even if it's something like a laser that technically does not have that much lag relative, it's still a slow option that you could have done better without, right?
Right.
Because frankly, there's just no like these lasers don't actually do anything. They don't progress the game state. They don't, provide you advantage. They don't do anything. They're just kind of actions. And the main point that I want to drive home is that if you weren't doing them, you would have seen that he's full hopping. His full hop cannot touch you right here. Even if you know fast falls, he just ends up right here on the Pokeball. You would have been able to set up a position and then pressure him landing here, and then if he double jumps back to side platform, you have center stage.
I could have even like crouched, just been like waiting in his landing position, crouching.
Yeah,
so
right.
Like, the only thing he could do is like drill.
Yeah, he could drill and
it,
double jump.
Right?
He can drill and double jump and shine, but you getting hit by shine isn't actually that meaningful,
right. Like,
since he's double jumping
on
on
a knockdown, right? But like you don't get anything off, right? Exactly. Okay.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
And that's like the main issue, because I feel like now that you ended up lasering and being in lag in that position, you are now right here instead of in the center as he's double jumping. So now his double jump is completely safe and will never get hit, which makes it now a good action, even though it should theoretically be a bad action, because he, has no resources.
Because I chose to do something that was committal and not productive at all.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
We talked about that position. Here's another thing kind of with the laser that I don't like, is I feel like you were not aware that you were engaged in a mix-up at this point. So you just kind of autopilot, dash back lasered, right? But after this bear trades, we're going to watch it right here in real time. He has more frame advantage than you.
This isn't neutral anymore.
This is a mix-up.
Oh, okay. That makes sense. Sorry.
Yeah, so if we look at it, if we're going to look at like the frames, he bears and then he lands 1, 2, 3, 4. He's actionable before you even land, right? So it's like you are disadvantaged and you need to play it as such, whether it's like shielding right here or like doing dash back, wave dash, and getting as far away as possible, or, CCing in place, right? You need to like play the position that actually came up rather than kind of assuming that, things are ending up neutral. Because, judging frame advantage, if, the situation changes a lot depending on the frame advantage. Because, like, if you ended up, if you were advantaged, you get to potentially hit him, right? And you get to play it that way. Or if you're a neutral, then it ends up actually being closer to true neutral than, otherwise, right? So judging how these situations end up playing out and how you have to play them both based off the spacing. In this position, you were really close to him. And how the frame advantage plays out, he was advantaged. You have to play around that. Given those things, you need to defend yourself, right?
Right.
And we could go into detail about how you could have done that. CC, shield, dash back all the way. Like start running back to fully avoid his action. Even are all like good ways.
A shield retreating drill.
I think that those are two separate decisions. I think shielding is the decision that you need to make that keeps you safe, and then you decide to drill if something
based
happens.
On what happens. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. For sure. No, the preemptive one is bad. Okay.
Yeah, doing like this is a thing that I've talked about in other lessons of mine, and to a lot of people, is that in Melee a lot of the time you don't need to like queue up actions. You can judge between actions and then make relevant decisions. It's like if you are in a mix-up and you decide to spot dodge, you don't have to do spot dodge roll. You don't queue it up.
Right.
You spot dodge, look before you spot dodge and during your spot dodge, and then make the decision. And sometimes you'll still roll, but they need to be separate decisions. They can't all just be like queued up.
Do you think a lot of players fall in the habit of queuing up a decision based on like a comfort thing?
Yeah, most definitely. I think it's really easy to queue up a decision.
Exploit people? Like you just look for things they're like they do like something in their mechanics that they like kind of do on autopilot when they do one thing. They're like, oh, but this is attached to that thing, so I'm gonna punish it, even though it's not.
Yeah, I think that's a great. I mean, there's a lot of foxes that I play against that are lower mid level, and every time they wave dash forward, they are going to up tilt regardless of what is happening. Right. And so I will always just be standing there and just up smash them every single time, and they will just not they'll be like, wow, he's reading my wave dash up tilt or whatever. But it's like, you could be doing wave dash into anything. Wave dash crouch,
Right.
wave dash shield, wave dash full hop, wave dash towards the opponent, hit, like, wave dash anything. But
Right.
they have queued
For
up
sure.
wave dash up. Their decision is to wave dash up tilt. And there
That's-
are some positions where you do have to queue them up because it's a true mix-up, right? Like a position
Right.
where you end up queuing up multiple decisions kind of is you are nairing a Marth in the corner. You see a Marth dash sensing in the corner, and you said, I'm going to overshoot Nair. And you do the Nair, and because you're unsure of if the Nair will hit a shield, will hit him, whatever, you could potentially decide to do the safe option and Nair shine, right? And that's technically a queued up decision because you can't truly judge whether your Nair will hit or not
You're
before you're
committing
actionable.
to it because it's a link between actions.
It's more that you're committing to it because by the time that the action is over, you couldn't have told.
Right. It's like a action reaction, but like there's such a small window. Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So I was just gonna in my head I love that you use the phrasing of queue up is really important. I think that's a great way to phrase it. So sorry, continue.
Yeah. So that's a big part of why this situation I don't like it is I feel like you just saw that you were next to the fox and you kind of queued up. I'm just gonna, dash back laser without realizing that there's this situation going on where we talked about the decisions you could make within it, right?
So be cognizant of when you're put in the mix-up. Like that's something I need to be a lot faster about, obviously.
Yeah, realize the mix-up at hand and the qualities of the mix-up.
Right. Okay.
Frame
let me
advantage
write
and
that.
spacing.
Be
being the
cognizant
ones.
that you are in a mix-up,
Yeah.
and then furthermore,
Be cognizant of the qualities of the mix-up. Frame advantage and spacing.
qualities of the mix-up in parentheses, frame advantage and spacing.
And does that make sense intuitively?
Yeah, that makes so much sense. I love that's perfect. In my head that's just like, I mean, you're phrasing things that I understood, but framing them in a way that's like, I don't know. I feel like people tell me all of these things, but then I have trouble piecing them together until someone gives like a very structured I don't know.
No, I understand. I mean, it's really easy to have a bunch of bits and pieces of knowledge that all feel kind of separate, but bringing all those things into a cohesive framework, aka a view, like your interpretation of how the game should function, a framework, how you
Right.
function within the game, etc., is the thing that needs to happen. You need to take your little bits of knowledge and put it all together, and then create a way of approaching problems within the game, right? And this is what we're doing here.
Someone can tell you, can talk to you about the game on and on and on and on. You won't learn unless you understand the context, and that's why this is so cool to me because you're just very. Anyway, sorry.
Yeah, let's keep going. We've only gone 5 seconds into the match. So we should move on a little bit.
The meme wasn't wrong.
And I mean, immediately after, I feel like this is another example of you kind of misjudging, the frame advantage / the situation you end up in, is because you do the laser and you realize that he's attacking you while doing the laser, but then you decide, I'm going to try and grab, even though, in my opinion, I feel like there's almost no action he could have done that would have made that grab actually land. Just because
he would actually have to run into me, which
is pretty unlikely, right?
That he says the way you play it, you just hope people run into you, and I'm like, okay, well, how do I make that? How do I not? And you've explained that, and that's I need to change the way I play from hope people run into me to recognize when I'm in the mix-up.
Yeah, when you're in a situation and whether it's advantageous and you get to play it as aggressively as possible, and maybe it's disadvantageous, and sometimes you have to defend yourself and maybe pull back and, play, from the bottom hand, etc., right?
For sure.
Yeah. I feel like after that grab, I would probably be like, oh, I have to defend myself because, I whiffed. Another way that I like to explain something similar to this is once you whiff or kind of do something bad that puts you at a lot of disadvantage, it's not your turn. Right? You don't get to make a decision that would progress to the game state. You have to stop them from getting hard advantage over you, which would be, in this case, getting hit.
That's a classic fighting game concept.
Yeah. And so I think both in this case, it was not your turn. And after whiffing the grab, it was not your turn. And so I think, okay, if I want to avoid this position specifically, and I've realized I've ended up in it, I could be shielding. I should be dashing back, rolling, full hopping, spot dodging. All definitely decisions you could make. You could probably sit down and think which ones you like more or less, depending on, how likely you think you are to getting hit / how much you can actually defend against said option.
Right.
Yeah. And does that make sense? It's not your turn now.
I wrote, yeah, when you whiff something, it's not your turn. Focus on figuring out when it's your turn, and furthermore, when it's the time to opt for defense.
Yeah. And do you think, is it clear to you what would make it your turn if you were in the position?
If I had hit confirmed something, and so for example, if he had poorly spaced, instead of spot dodging, if he had ran forward a little bit further, I would have happened to won. It wouldn't have been a meaningful win, but I would have happened to won the interaction and get a punish, right? Mm-hmm. Whereas if it were whiffed, then now I'm in disadvantage and he gets to hit me, and the same, right?
Yeah. My perception of when it's your turn actually goes a step before the hit. So I think when I watch this, a great example of when I think it was your turn was right here where he did this double jump. Now that he's done this double jump and you have more actions available to you than he does to defend himself, I think this is your turn. You get to make a decision here on your own, of your own, will. You can make your decision because you want to make a decision. This is, and is it, does it make sense why this is your turn, right? Because you're advantaged and he does not have the necessary tools to defend himself properly in every situation, whereas you have a lot of different ways to hit him and he has very few ways to actually deal with it, right? That's why I think it's your turn. And if we're going to go...
I need to be looking at the first 5 seconds of the game more thoughtfully, is what you're...
Yeah.
Okay,
you just have to look at every situation with some level of, critically engaging with it. Because it's all these things, if you... a big thing that Sammy said that I like is if they can't play the first interaction of the match well, I feel like that's pretty telling because that's the easiest point in the game to make a good decision. And is it clear why it's the easiest point in the game to make a good decision?
Because you're both in true neutral.
There's nothing that's happened that is stopping you from making a good decision. There's no information that makes it hard.
Let me write this down. If they can't play the first interaction of the match well, it is a good indication of where they are as a player.
I don't think you should necessarily use this as
that's too general.
A judgment of skill, but the way that I think about it is that if I were watching myself play and I played, we both spawn and I play the interaction off of spawn poorly. In this example, it would probably be doing, the runoff into dash forward, dash back. I'd be like, okay, there is something I need to fix about this situation that is clearly going wrong. There's a fundamental disconnect of when I'm able to make, certain types of decisions, right?
So I said, if they can't play the first interaction of the match well, it is a good indication of that something is disconnected. Something needs to change in the decisions that are being made.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to approach it. Yeah. And that's why I think it's really important to be really critical of each moment of the match, even if it's something as minuscule as the first movements you make.
This is definitely something I've talked about with Danny and in teams and openings for the RPS for teams. Mm-hmm. The first 5 seconds are really important because it's one opening means a lot of damage in high level. Or I guess your 1-2 combo and then, anyway. Yeah.
I totally agree. Yeah. It's the first interaction means that it's the first advantage of the match. If you lose it and you take 80%, lose your stock, guess what? You were down a stock from 10 seconds in.
And your partner is getting comboed, etc., etc. So it's even. So that's why I'm trying to get
in teams. It's even worse.
If I can master the singles neutral, I'll feel so much more comfortable. Because I don't know. I feel like I'll just making better decisions. I find myself just losing over and over and over again to Dark Atma in singles in teams. Like, we'll just play Ralph and Dark Atma, and they'll just be like, oh, well, I mean, it doesn't matter if you guys have good team stuff. We're just gonna win every neutral interaction over. And the top teams are both amazing singles and doubles players. And it shows.
No, yeah,
it's totally a different skill set, but you also have to have the single skill set. Otherwise, you don't get there because there are teams who are just two singles players.
Yeah, definitely. I totally agree. I think a lot of the time in doubles, you have to be a strong singles player to, at least to some extent, fix some of the issues that come up in teams. So
So that's the reason. So as we wrap up, we got another 5-10 minutes.
No, we have like 20 minutes.
We do. We started at 6:10. Okay, cool.
At least on my recording, it says that I have 40 minutes currently.
So that's some context into why I just want to make better decisions because I want to stop losing to that. And I've seen it. I've seen and gone that distance in the tournament, and I see that if I want to go any further, I can't be in this state.
Yeah. But that's exactly what we're here for. We're here to build up a framework through which to approach new situations that we are not necessarily playing the best we can.
Shit, dude, you've given me 4 or 5 already.
Let's
keep going. Let's do it. Let's do it.
What the heck? It's not going. Okay. What the heck? Why isn't it playing?
Slippy, I love everything about the replay system except scrubbing. I wish you could
my god, it went all the way through that. Okay, I'm just gonna restart this.
All good.
Alright, let me know if you can see it.
Yep, you're good.
Okay, cool. Let's see if we can get through a few more stocks, a few more matches. Okay, all this.
Oop, that was uncharacteristic of me. I'm a ledge dasher. I hit my ledge dash.
Yeah, I mean, you mess up sometimes.
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, Charlie, when I was practicing, Charlie was like, "Oh yeah, you need to not try to reset your ECB because the top level players are just going to call you out for trying to refresh that way."
Yeah.
And so I was like, "Okay, I'll just do that. I'll just practice because I'm confident in my ledge dashes. I just need to commit to the first one, Anyway, just wanted to note that.
Yeah. I think this was good. Dash forward shield. I don't know how much you know about this, but shield in the Ditto is really good. Because
Shine Out of Shield is broken.
Yes, Fox is really bad at hitting his own shield without being able to get Shine Out of Shield. Drill, get Shine Out of Shield. I think almost every Nair timing except for maybe the latest, get Shine Out of Shield. Bear, get Shine Out of Shield. Up air. Second hit up air, following up air, get Shine Out of Shield, right?
I'm randomly hella good at wave Shine Out of Shield, which is like a very meme, like, oh yeah.
I mean, I think it's really important.
But there's so many other trivial things that I'm so terrible at. Anyways.
No, I definitely feel that. But yeah, shielding against Fox is really good. And you do it here, you dash forward, you realize, oh man, I could get hit. So you decide to shield, and it's really good because the only way that he could actually hit you is by calling you out and either just raw grabbing, which is very risky because if you do anything that is not shield, he will just lose.
That's the Captain Falcon.
Yeah, that is actually the Captain Falcon. And then he could shine grab, which Shine could get Shine to the shield, and then it will not work. Or you could spot
and also double shine. I mean, I guess if I shine at a shield, he can double shine.
There is the double shine interaction where if he double shines, and you try and shine at a shield the first shine, sometimes you get hit shining at a shield by the second shine. Sometimes you stay in shield. It's like it's hard to judge. Kind of RNG, kind of not. But yeah, that's also a part of the interaction. But getting shined by Fox in the corner where you're just going to end up on ledge probably isn't even that disadvantage of a position, I think. I feel like it's pretty good.
I actively see Foxes like, oh, the other Fox is in the corner by the ledge. I'm literally not going to engage. I'm just going to wait till they... Like I see Moki actively give up in a situation. Like I was watching a fiction lesson where Zuppy was playing Moki, and Zuppy approaches Moki in the corner and gets reversaled because it's Battlefield, and I don't know. I'll DM it to you later.
Yeah.
Stop getting distracted.
Yeah.
ADD, bro. I get too
um,
enthusiastic about melee.
I understand. But yeah, this is a great shield, and you react well to his down tilt
Oh, that
and
was a
shield grab. Now you meant to
up
up
throw
throw.
moment. Yeah, every fox has that one, but I should need to do it with. Maybe I need to reset the potentiometers on my.
Yeah, maybe it's controller stuff. Maybe you were trying to defend against something else, and then you ended up accidentally maybe pressing, slightly too far forward and trying to go up. Whatever. Maybe it's worth thinking about that in some positions where you shield angle forward and you try and up throw, you accidentally forward throw. I'm not sure, but it's yeah, I mean it's a
But
trivial
generally,
mistake.
that's a trivial up throw in tech chase into. I've been doing like back throw when it's an awkward tech chase on the
Yeah,
platform. Yeah,
I think that's all good. Yeah, no,
yeah,
it's just up
okay,
throwing to do your combo.
yeah, do your thing. Yeah.
And you're dead. Yeah.
The other thing I talked about, Charlie, was like, oh yeah, you need to recover high more often
Mm-hmm.
because everyone is so good at punishing low recoveries.
Yeah. This combo is honestly pretty bad. The
You
up,
don't like up air?
no, it's not that the upper's bad. It's that after
I
this
just
up air, you crouched, which is like
yeah, I should have done a dash back
yeah.
JC grab, but I yeah, my punish is shit.
It's like once you hit this upper, you either need to react really fast and JC grab, or just let him hit the ground and tech chase. But
Oh,
since you
you're
crouch there, you just can't
I-
cover anything, right?
I mean, if I could have dash backed it, but that's hard.
Yeah, you just
Dash
should have
back
been
out,
that. There's
crouch.
no reason to crouch.
Yeah, right, because the only reason there would be to crouch there is if I was trying to wait for him to get up attack, but he's not there.
Yeah.
So I'm just doing a crouch because maybe it's like it's I'm queuing up an action. That's what it is.
Yeah, you're not looking at what's happening.
Yeah.
You're just kind of deciding, I crouch, and it's like, whatever. But no, you need to be, I'm watching this, and I'm like, if I'm going for this up air, another thing I've talked about is if you're going to make a decision to hit your opponent, I feel like the logical conclusion is that if I'm doing a move, it's with the intention to hit my opponent. And so you have to be ready for when it hits your opponent to do the correct thing, right? Which is,
Be ready to
yeah.
instead of like hope. Yeah. I need to be confident in my execution.
Yeah. It's like if you're gonna try and hit them, why would you do it if you didn't think it would hit? Right?
Yeah, I mean right. Like, what's the point in like? Yeah, no. I totally see what you're saying.
Yeah. But for this combo, pretty much what you do after this up air is you do this, you hit this up air, you dash back, and you just stand next to Fox and tech chase. A big thing for comboing Fox, I'm not sure if you know, but generally the way it goes is you just hit him and then go to the place where you'll end up right next to him. So then you can either tech chase or just do your combo or whatever. So in this specific position, it'd just be dashing back to this spot and then tech chasing from there.
Up throw, yeah. Up throw,
Yeah,
platform,
you
tech chase,
up throw and
up
then
throw,
combo.
Up tilt, platform, tech, whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, he does the tech and play shine.
Yeah, that's just whatever.
Yeah, that's just good. I mean, he just does the right thing for
Yeah.
punishing me for messing up. That's just correct,
Mm-hmm.
A better player would have called him out for tech play, or like just.
I mean, they would have
either
just hit the tech chase,
him,
right?
Yeah, they would have they would have just done gotten the true regrab follow up, or done the tech chase. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
definitely.
I just whiff it. But yeah, it is. Yeah.
And in this position, I think you got baited by you knew that you would land before him. In this position where you got shined and he full hopped, you definitely realized that you'd be actionable before he did since he was landing from the full hop, so you decided to be aggressive. But I think that you weren't specific about how to engage with this position specifically, because I see this and I'm thinking, okay, well, I don't have enough time to actually hit him directly out of the air.
Right.
This is your first actual frame, by the way. So this is literally the first frame that you could be doing something. So is it not? Is it pretty clear that?
So I was clear. So I acted literally as soon as I was out of hit stun.
I think so. I'm not sure, but this is just to make the example clear. This is the first frame that you could have acted, and I think if you look at this, it's pretty clear that you can't hit him directly out of the air from this spot.
So I just have to wait for the landing, is what you're saying.
You have to make a decision on the landing. So whether you could decide to drill in place and read him wave landing back, which is a way that he'd try and juke you and avoid you trying to overshoot, right? Or maybe hit you trying to dash in place here. You could run up and crouch, maybe right here, end up next to him, maybe get to play a decent mix-up, or you could try and read his waveland back and play mix-up around that. Generally, if I saw this position and I was like unsure what my opponent would do, I would dash dance here, and what that would do is it'd make me safe from if he landed with an aerial, whether it be drill, shine, bear, and if he double jumps, I'm still available enough to pressure him for doing it, right?
So dash dance. So dash dance till through the landing lag. Wait for the commitment and react. So you'd play this neutral interaction. You'd do the wait option.
Yeah, I'd play it reactively and wait, but you could play it more aggressively, which I think has value because it's a scramble where if you're going to assume you're more aware than your opponent, then you could get away with some like pretty nasty things.
But that's definitely not what I should choose here because
I think it's fine. It's all a mix-up,
I'm actively aware that my opponent I'm actively aware that my opponent is more aware than right? So that's an interesting is like when do you choose do you vary your choices based on like do you not go for something if you know your opponent like knows more than you? I don't know.
I think maybe aware wasn't necessarily the correct way to express it, but it's more that like if you feel like you have an idea of what your opponent will do, then you can play the mix-up in a way that actually hits it. You don't have to like play it, passively or maybe less aggressively. Because I think it's a totally reasonable decision for you to dash up here and do down tilt and cover him doing empty land dash or wave land.
Right.
Like that's a totally reasonable thing you could do, and technically you're putting yourself at risk of getting hit, right? But if you think it's gonna work, it's a good decision because it would both get you a pretty decent combo and it covers something meaningfully, right?
For sure.
But I think if we're gonna talk in a framework sense, looking at situations again with this level of critical analysis and applying risk reward to these positions and kind of thinking which ones would I want to do when and why, because I think doing dash dance is probably generally pretty low reward, but it's also pretty low risk and could be defined as the option that lets me react the most. But now covering him maybe dashing back or wave landing towards the platform, like maybe right here, is a riskier option, but it's also a much higher reward because I could get a combo off of it, right? And so weighing these situations like this and also thinking what are the real decisions I could make that actually hit the decisions that could end up happening, is important.
Weighing these in real time, that's a skill that comes with experience and repetition of this particular, or not this particular situation, but any given situation and risk-reward analysis.
Yeah, a risk-reward understanding comes before the match. You find that out in analysis.
Right? Yeah, that's basic. That's like play how you play video game good. Here, do good risk-reward thing. Anyway.
Yeah, you figure out risk-reward when watching the game, not while playing. While playing is when you apply the knowledge that you have of risk-reward actively.
And making good decisions is a catalyst or a result of sorry, I'm not continue.
Okay. So for this position, after I don't like the drill because I feel like it doesn't actually really hit anything, and it also puts you in lag next to the fox when he's landing. So you see when he dashes back, it's like if he didn't dash back so far, if he played the mix-up slightly more intentionally, he would have ended up dashing back and just, raw whiff punish grabbing your drill. And it would have been pretty bad, and I don't think it would have actually hit any of the decisions he could have made effectively. Like, maybe it could have clipped Waveland back. Maybe it might have clipped, him doing, like, a move or something. But I don't think it would have effectively done a good job of it. It didn't seem like it was geared towards doing that decision, like, beating that decision.
So aiming, so when I'm uncomfortable, instead of throwing out a move, fine. I mean, and that's those more intentional moves. They come from these practiced analysis sessions, right?
Yeah. And I don't think it's good to make a general claim based off this position specifically.
I think is a problem of.
I think we should just look at this situation for what it is.
Sure. Right. Yeah.
I don't really like up tilt at this percent because of exactly what happened. I think if you're going to up tilt here, you have to realize that he's going to land on the platform and decide to either dash under the platform to cover tech rolls on reaction, or just instantly
tech chase moment, right?
No, I think it's a regrab moment.
Regrab. Oh, okay, for sure. Yeah. Regrab.
What I would do is I'd turn around regrab Or you could do short hop up air, which is also very good in this position.
You get one regrab and then short hop up air optimally here,
right? Well, in this position, he could get out of the platform from one regrab.
That's what he.
So you'd get a either a falling up air tech chase or a rising up air tech chase, depending on which one you want to do.
Could I do waveland up tilt?
No. This is the percent's too low.
No time. Okay.
Yeah.
So that happens like 60, 80. Does that start like?
Yeah, that happens around. It depends on whether you have to dash and drift to the platform, and and the percent. So 60 to 80 is like a decent if you don't have to actually dash that far to get to the platform, and you can land pretty quickly.
But that's like a kill setup thing. That's like I know they like these two particular tech options on the platform, and I want to set up for an up air off the top at 90 or whatever.
Yeah. You could true tech chase with up tilt. You could up tilt tech in place and also up tilt tech roll to the right. Sometimes if you space yourself well, or you can up tilt the tech roll that is both closest to the ledge that you're at and the way that your back is facing. If that makes sense.
No, that makes a lot of sense. That's good.
But
so regrab there and then
or short hop up air. Short hop up air is another way to get
Oh, yeah, dude, I need to implement short hop up air in the Ditto. Yeah. I'm so scared of doing it because I'm so scared of them SDIing it, but I just need to practice it.
It's it's gonna do it. Sometimes they could SDI, it's pretty hard, but like what I like about short hop up air is it does the same thing as up tilt, which pops them up, but it's a stronger move. So instead of it being where you up tilt and then you have to like get this weird platform tech chase that's pretty hard to get. You short hop up air and he ends up right here, and so you get maybe another up air or a bear or a nair,
Right, whatever mix up you want to play.
You get like another move, which is way better.
So generally, another move is better than no follow up.
Yeah,
I guess is the way I need to think of. I mean that.
We can just look at it specifically, right? You want to be specific. You don't want to generalize, because it's really important to be like, in this specific position at this specific percent,
right?
I want to do up air. I want to do regrab. I want to, what you want to have a plan that is very specific to what is currently happening. You don't want to generalize. I need to do X type of option more in a position where it's pretty clear that you did something specifically wrong and you could fix it. I think making generalizing or overarching claims comes for conceptual understanding of game plans. That's when it's like, when I'm playing against Sheik, I generally need to stop, approaching on the platforms or, something like that.
When I'm playing against Falcon, I need to vary my tech rolls.
It needs to be like a conceptual thing attached to a matchup rather than.
That's not attached to a punish. I need to stop thinking about that and unless I have a very practiced setup, right?
Yeah.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense.
Okay. So we're getting near the end of our time, so let's kind of speed through this last game, see if we can talk about some positions. I'm not going to go that much in depth, but I'll tell you what you should do instead.
Yeah, what do I need to practice? Or I guess that,
Yeah. Good dash dance. That nair's fine. I feel like you kind of autopiloted with the second nair. Because this first nair's fine, but then once you're in a mix-up, so you have to play it as if you're in a mix-up, right? And I feel like you kind of just do that now.
I don't notice that I have him in a mix-up. It's the same situation. I guess I'm not aware that I've put him in a mix-up situation. So in the same way that I was unaware that he put me in a mix-up the first 5 seconds into the game, which is that's the I'm not looking at the right places problem.
Yeah.
Right.
And we look at this position, you roll out, and you don't necessarily realize the situation you're in, and the mix-up here is after, he tries to hit you in the corner and you roll past them, it's either you hit him dashing forward, which could be with a JC up smash, you dash back to, give him some space and give yourself some space to work with, or you just read him going all the way into the corner with running shine, up smash, grab, whatever. But you kind of did something exactly in the middle that didn't really hit him dashing forward, didn't really hit him dashing back, and didn't really protect yourself in place.
But also put me in end lag, and that's why I got dash back.
Yeah. It did none of the things you wanted it to do, but also put you in a place where you could get hit.
Which is the worst possible outcome.
Yes, most certainly. Okay. That was a bad combo. Whatever. Good grab. Shine.
No, that was...
What I like to do in this position, I like to do full hop once I land from this shine, because you could react to if he side Bs or not, and then bear it on reaction, and then if he up Bs, you could just edge guard normally.
Also,
like,
it forces it forces a reaction from him, right?
Yeah.
So it's and not a commitment for me, but it is a threat for him.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you cover side, and then once you realize he doesn't side B, then you just get to bear in place and, you know, cover up B straight or whatever, and then you know, dash full hop bear to cover up B high.
For sure.
That's a wave at this percent.
Waveland up tilt.
Yeah, waveland up smash.
Up smash. Oh, yeah. Right, because that just will kill, right?
He dies away, he dies off the side, he dies in, he dies off.
So I need to go into Uncle Punch and do practice DI away waveland up smash.
Yeah. Practice like tech chasing, up throw tech chase, waveland up smash at this,
up
you know, kill percent.
Tech chase, waveland.
Okay, bad, but it's fine. Good grab. Nice.
So you see that drill grab there? Can
Yeah.
I ask you a question about that? So that's not real, right?
No.
Some people get hit by that because they don't SDI it.
They don't realize that they're innocent. Like,
not real.
they don't. Yeah, they react too slow. But a good player will see that he got drilled and be like, "I'm spot dodging."
Never gets hit by that. He's like, yeah. Charlie's such a good person to try things on because he doesn't really get hit by cheese.
Yeah, that's definitely a chump check. This up smash is pretty bad, I think.
That's a panic. Yeah, he's very clearly not like this is. He's gonna get that. Yeah. So I need to. How do I need to clear my head in the corner. Maybe it's like a nerve.
Once you realize I think doing the nair made you end up in a lot more lag, but once you end up there, you kind of just have to shield, roll, maybe dash back,
right.
You know, shine up B to grab ledge or whatever, right? But you need to, you know, do something like that.
Right. When the thing we talked about earlier on turns, you know?
Yeah.
That it was like not my turn at all. And
you get to defend yourself. Yeah.
Like it was not my turn, and B, I tried to do something when it wasn't my turn, so I got hit harder than I needed to.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Okay. Actually, I think we're at a point, honestly, where we've talked about most of the things we'll talk about, and a lot of the concepts that we actually covered will end up being repeated, so we could kind of wrap up here.
Yeah. No, I've already learned so much, and I'm sure, like, of course, sometimes people tell me things, but it's a lot easier when you give me frameworks, so I appreciate that.
Frameworks are important because it gives you a way to think about it on a broader scale instead of their interpretation. It lets you create your own interpretation, which I think is really valuable.
So I'll be scheduling another one of these. I'm definitely upgrading to the 2 a month because this is broken. This is so dumb. Yeah, this is mini Sammy. Like, this is like, hey, you want to get better?
I mean, I agree.
Yeah, no, dude, you're fucking cracked, bro. But you already know that.
Yeah. So yeah, let's just wrap up, cover the things. So initially, we talked about, what was it? The kind of categorizing players. Yeah. And we didn't get to talk about that much, but I did give you a clear example early where he kind of picked two options in a row where they weren't necessarily the most accurate decisions, and it left him pretty available. And both of those were, you know, him doing weird kind of full hop double jumps from far away. So that it isn't like that great of an example of, like, you know, how to highlight maybe a type of action, but it is a starting point.
But you gave me a way to practice conceptualizing it. That's all I really care about.
Yeah.
That's so much more valuable than any specific situation. I mean, you also gave me a good analysis of situation.
Yeah.
Hey, if you ever want to play teams, let us know. We're fiends.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll definitely let you know. What was it? After that, we talked about the full hop position or the double jump position, where why the position's bad for him is he doesn't have resources specifically because he's double jumping, right? And Fox is a character that doesn't have much drift. And that's, you know, we talked about that position at depth. We talked about turns and why maybe what makes you have a turn and what makes it their turn. It's a matter of frame advantage and positioning, right? And so if you're frame advantage, and another part of frame advantage that I didn't really talk about, and it might be too much to necessarily talk about at this point, but what makes when you're in frame advantage, you also have to think about what options you could do out of it. Because if Bowser is in 2 frames of frame advantage against Fox, he's still
Doesn't
disadvantaged
matter,
because he
right?
can't
'Cause
do a action fast
yeah.
enough to stop him.
Because it's like his jump squad is more than the time.
Yeah, right. He's too slow. So that's
Yeah,
also an important
right.
factor in judging.
Right.
We also talked about combos. We talked about a few combos. The way that I like to approach combos is that when I see a combo that is, that I do poorly, I like to either watch top foxes and try and find them do the position specifically, or I like to sit down and be like, is there a hit I could do that lets me get the maximum amount of damage? So in this case, we look at the position where you're up throwing at 34%, and he does no DI. Short hop up air ends up being the best move to hit him with because it lets you get another hit guaranteed without having to tech chase and could lead to more hits afterward. Whereas up tilt ends up being not that great because if he DIs to the platform, you get an awkward tech chase that isn't actually that consistent and makes you have to read, so you don't get a guaranteed second hit. Right. And there are judgment calls to make on sometimes you do get more value on maybe, don't think of the up tilt position in this way, but if we're gonna think of something random, like maybe if you up tilt there and you get an up air, you get more damage than if you short hop up air in the peak scenario. Like that is a thing in the game. I'm not saying that's the case for that position specifically, but think of an example. Yeah, that is like something that happens with combos, so it's also good to be aware of that and to flesh out combos fully by watching top players do them and thinking about the actions they do and why they end up getting a bunch of damage, right?
Yeah. No, for sure. That's also such a simple rinse repeat process that you can just do.
Yeah, and you get to practice. You watch it. Yeah, you watch yourself. You watch them. You practice it, and that is it, right? You just have to do that thing over and over and over for each situation.
Watch yourself practice.
Yeah, that is really the melee improvement cycle. But I think that's pretty much all we covered, right?
Yeah, dude. No, you gave me so much shit. I'm very happy with my. That was well worth $30.
I'm glad you feel that way.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's all I got.
You're doing Patreon? What have you not applied for Metafy? Like, I mean, you can edit this out or you can stop recording. I'm just curious. Yeah. Like, what's your thought process?